You ready, Spaghetti?
Ready, Spaghetti.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a Married with Channels podcast. My name is Moose.
I'm Jodie. Yeah.
New toys. New toys.
New equipment.
A married couple talking TV shows and movies.
Yep.
And are you ready to talk some TV shows?
I am. You know, the whole point of this is like we don't have any time. And so we got to be very selective about what we watch here.
I know.
It's got to be quality, right? Or we're just not having it.
It's got to be quality or we're out.
That's right.
We're bailing.
So we checked out some stuff. So let's talk about what we checked out.
Yeah. A couple of these are Apple TV Plus shows. We'll start with Government Cheese.
Yeah. Which I kind of like the name. Have you ever had government cheese?
No, tell me about your experience with Government Cheese.
It's nasty.
Is it?
It's just like not really cheese. It's like a cheese product, if you will. I don't know.
Cheese product.
But look, you do what you got to do when you need food assistance and, have food insecurity and things like that. So we had government assistance during a time growing up, and we had like vouchers for cheese and milk through, women and infant and children, kind of supplemental food benefits that you get through the government to help you out during hard times. And we definitely had that. And powdered milk is interesting. I don't recommend.
I had powdered milk.
You did?
Wasn't it called back then condensed milk?
That's something different.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
I've had powdered milk.
I just remember it came in a box and you mixed it with water and it just was not the same. It was like the most watered down milk flavor.
But it was milk, right?
I think so.
But it's
technically.
like they just evaporated all the water out of it or something.
I mean, I thought so, but when you rehydrated it certainly did not taste like regular milk. It was just like water with milk flavoring. I don't know.
Well, the government cheese probably these days tastes way better.
Probably.
It's probably like almost palpable.
Maybe. I don't know.
Non-vomit inducing.
I don't know. It's a special kind of cheese.
But the show Government Cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot the actor's name. God. He played MLK in, thank you. David Aiello-Wo. I'm sorry, I'm getting that wrong.
Probably.
But he was famously played MLK in the one movie from about 10 years ago about the famous march across the bridge. Selma, thank you. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he plays this guy who's out of prison, and he's got this great idea.
And he was away for a while, right? Away from his family.
Yeah.
For quite a few years, right? Yeah.
And so now he's trying to reconcile with his family. His wife is dubious about his intentions. She's kind of moved on, maybe got a boyfriend. He's trying to win over his sons. Well, the one son is kind of eccentric and is cool with him. Yeah. The other one is definitely a work in progress.
Definitely.
But it's interesting how it's a guy it's almost like it's all about redemption. He's like a guy who's effed up big time, but he's now found his purpose in life, and he wants to share that and win back his family. It's
funny because you view it as redemption. I view it as just kind of an overall global theme of karma.
And then there's that. Both can be right.
Well, right. Absolutely. But yeah, I pulled out, I feel like it's all about karma. And, do you do the right thing or not? If you don't do the right thing, does bad things keep happening to you?
Right.
Kind of thing. So.
Yeah. So it's interesting show. And it's kind of shot in a way that it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not quirky, not Wes Anderson style, but definitely in that ballpark.
Yeah, there's like a clear crispness to it, if you will. I don't know how else to describe it either.
Like lots of wide shots with symmetry going on.
Yeah. Well, and fun fact, they filmed this in Vancouver.
I was going to say Canada. It's gotta be Canada.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's beautiful.
But beautiful. So Government Cheese, it's on Apple TV Plus. Mm-hmm. I find it like a nice, I don't want to say palate cleanser because that diminishes the show a little bit.
Sure.
But it's an easy watch. And I feel like there's nothing really shocking. There's no nudity. There's a little bit of violence, but there's no gore.
Yeah.
There's no really trying to wrap your mind around themes and, what are they trying to say?
Who done it?
Yeah. So it's kind of an easy rollip.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you that. Easy viewing, we'll just say. Yeah, and again, not to diminish it, because I do think it's good. There's interesting dynamics there, too, and relationships and, things to look at there as well. So,
absolutely. But Government Cheese, I like it. I think I would recommend it.
Yeah, I would, too. It's different. I kind of want to see, what he does. Does he win his family back?
Yeah.
Can someone be changed forever and be good, even when you're tempted and it's easy money or,
and I feel
whatever.
I feel like it's a show that, because it's on Apple TV Plus, it's already going to be limited in who's going to be able to watch it. But I feel like it's kind of losing out some. It's not getting any buzz or real press.
Sure.
Like I don't know if I heard about this until we were looking on Apple TV, like browsing through options, and maybe I just turned it on to check out the trailer. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. But I think it's getting lost out, buried into the mix behind Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm and The Studio, which both those shows are getting more buzz. And we'll get to one of those here in just a second. But
sure.
I feel like people should give it a chance.
Yeah.
It's a easily digestible show.
Yeah.
With a good cast. And, it's got that kind of like nice, crisp, like you said, kind of viewing about it.
Yeah, it's nice. There's some nice scenery. There's a scene where they go camping at a lake, and all of that is just beautiful. There's some comedy there too, and just kind of like, oh man, this poor guy a little bit, there's some comedy stuff that happens, and like, oh man, of course, like worst case scenario, like you're rooting for somebody, and then you're like, well, yep. Should have seen that coming,
And also, we forgot to mention, there's definitely some religious allegories going on here. Like, there's one scene, I don't want to give it away, but he's on a lake and he falls in the water.
Yeah.
And you kind of rolled your eyes a little bit.
I did. It's a little out there.
But correct me if I'm wrong, because you read the Bible. I either haven't or I did. I just don't remember because I was too young. There is some religious stuff there, right? With what happens to him in the lake.
Yeah. Should I say what that is?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So, he falls in the lake. He is seemingly drowning, and a big fish comes and swallows. Big catfish.
Huge, like the size of a Volkswagen bus.
Yeah. Comes and swallows him.
A minivan. An SUV.
The size of a Toyota Sienna. There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, he gets swallowed whole, and in the Bible, Jonah and the whale, there's a story that he gets swallowed, and like, please God, I will, be good, and if you just let me out of this big old whale here, and
not very subtle,
right? And so I don't know, to me, it's like they were doing a good job of keeping grounded in reality, and that scene right there was just like, oh come on,
that was a little too like. In your face, too obvious in a way.
Yeah.
That being said, I tend to believe a catfish could get that big. Like, they get huge. I've never seen one that big.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you left one unattended in deep enough waters with plenty of food stock, it could get that big.
It could. Sure. I mean, I've seen some pretty big ones in my life, down by the river and all that and stuff. But yeah, it could. It could.
Yeah.
I mean... But big enough, like, is it going to swallow a person whole? Probably not that big. Yeah.
No.
So, I don't know. It's just a little too out there for me. A little too science fiction-y and a little, like...
But that being said, that's not a lot of the show. There's not a lot of that in the show.
No.
That was the one moment where you're like, kind of like, wait a minute. Even I was like, what's going on? Is he imagining this?
I thought so too. I was like, is this just like someplace he went in his brain because he passed out or something? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But, there were kind of other hints about some spirituality or like signs from the universe, if you will, with his friend that passed in prison and, some of that. So there is a little element of that, throughout, but none of it was as crazy as the fish swallowing whole. So
Crazy.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that part's disappointing. But again, the rest of the show is really, really good. It's very good acting. It's kind of a period piece.
Yeah, it's set in the 70s.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think you and I both agree that we like some period movies and TV shows.
Yeah, yeah. I think the nostalgia
Costumes,
in you just kind of comes out and you're like, oh, funny. I remember,
We're easy. Just put like somebody drinking a can of Tab. We're like, okay, we're in on this show.
I know, right? Totally. What? They got in a car and they didn't wear seatbelts? Oh, that must be old like us.
Dad's driving and says, Junior, hand me a beer.
Totally.
We've just aged ourselves.
Totally.
Government Cheese on Apple TV Plus. Definitely go check it out. And moving on to another Apple TV Plus show, The Studio, Seth Rogen, Catherine Hahn.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, Catherine O'Hara. The Catherines. And Ike Barinholtz. Barinholtz.
Yep.
And you've got some guest stars like Ron Howard, Bryan Cranston. Basically, the premise is Seth Rogen plays the now new head of a movie studio, Continental Studios. And he is tasked with, running the studio, making it profitable, obviously, making movies. And what's interesting about the show is, there's a couple things interesting about it. It's like a kind of a quick pace, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And it's very quick dialogue. You have some long running shots where the camera's walking with the actors as they're walking down the hall, almost like Aaron Sorkin-ish.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love shows, movies set in the movie world, like the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So that's about 80% of like my interest there.
Okay.
And then on top of that, it's well done.
Yeah.
And it's funny. And like I said, you have a great cast.
Sure.
And what I like about the characters, he's not just a guy who's trying to make money for the studio. He's a guy who believes in the art of movie making. He loves a good show or movie that is just conceptually out there and different and meaningful and impactful and art.
He believes in that dream.
Yeah. But at the same time,
yeah,
he's got to make money for the studio.
Exactly. He has to toe the line between all these other things. There's marketing involved. There's, legal. There's the studio with the money bag, and so, yeah. And the thing that I like about this one too is like, it just kind of pokes fun at Hollywood itself a little bit, and kind of the inside scoop there, a little kind of peek behind the curtain of, okay, here's how it really goes down and how these movies get made. And, so that's kind of fun and refreshing. How true it is, I don't know, because it's comedy, it's a fictional show, but I kind of have to wonder, like, have some of these cast encountered the very scenarios that they're kind of poking fun of,
I mean, so the show is created by, directed by, and written partially by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, they're like producer partners. Mm-hmm. And they've been around long enough. They probably have either lived through some of these stories or heard some of these stories. So I'm sure there's a kernel of truth in some of these scenarios that they've blown up a little bit.
Right. And just kind of
dramatic purposes.
Made fun of it. Yeah, for sure.
It's I'm sure there's some truth there.
Yeah.
Obviously, dramatic effect needs to take in because, nobody wants to watch that documentary. They want to watch a show.
Sure.
And it was interesting. Each episode kind of has its own little, I don't want to say problem.
Yeah, like a theme, like.
Yeah. Like if the season is them trying to make this Kool-Aid movie, for the most part, then each episode is maybe, not each episode, but most episodes are like a problem encountered with making that movie.
Oh, I thought the Kool-Aid movie was just one episode, because prior to that, it was the other movie shot at the kind of the house.
The one-shotter?
Yeah, yep.
So, yeah.
Like, that was kind of funny. And then there was like the gumshoe kind of episode of the missing film, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like each episode is kind of a different movie problem, kind of a...
Yes. Yeah, and you're right. But they've come back to the Kool-Aid thing.
Oh, yeah.
With the casting situation where they didn't want to look like they were racist.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And just like all their thought process and like how sometimes you can really overthink a problem.
Yeah.
And then come back to where you started originally anyway. Like, and then, comedy ensues.
The one episode with Ron Howard was pretty funny. And
that was great.
I have a clip from it. Basically, the premise is Ron Howard has made this new movie. Seth Rogen's character and his crew, his marketing person, his assistant, and the vice president, whatever, they go to a screening of it, and they're loving it. It's like, this is the best movie ever. And then for the last half hour, it has this very kind of indulgent, on Ron Howard's part, scene of like a motel with a father and his dead son, and they're just looking at each other and falling asleep, and and they come out of the movie and they got to give him notes, Ron Howard notes, and they're like, how do we tell Ron Howard that last half hour sucks? And so it becomes this push and pull about, okay, who's going to tell Ron Howard?
Yeah.
How's this going to happen? And Anthony Mackie's in the movie within the studio. And he's with Ron Howard meeting with Seth Rogen. He's like, oh, great. We love it. Yeah, thanks. This is great. Then Anthony Mackie comes into their studio and essentially says, like, you got to cut that fucking scene out.
Personally, and I know you guys got a lot of love for it.
You know, you're so good at it. We love it.
I know, thanks. Shut up. It fucking sucks.
That's what we think. We think it fucking sucks, man.
What are you talking about? You can't say that. You were just in there crying about your dead cousin.
I don't have a dead cousin.
So why did you say you had one?
Because he told me to.
What the fuck?
Look, here's the thing. We love the film, okay? We think this could be like an all-time classic. And yes, we think the motel sequence derails the entire film. Honestly, I thought you liked it.
No, I never liked it. I didn't like it in the script. I didn't like it when we shot it. I didn't like it in the movie. That's why I was waiting for you as the head of the studio to say he had to fucking cut it. So go in there and tell him to cut it.
I don't want to do that.
It's funnier if you get it in the context of when Anthony Mackie's with Ron Howard and Seth Rogen, and he's like, oh, yeah, we love it. Love that motel scene. Love
Yeah.
it. It's great. And Ron Howard's adamant about it because it's a statement about his cousin dying, and it means something. And
Yeah. It's just kind of that Hollywood pandering, like, you know, you're in a room full of people and they're all like, yes, 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 we love you, we love you, we love you. And then, like, you leave and then they talk crap behind your back and no, you don't get the part.
Right.
So, yeah, I kind of like that. It's funny because it's like, is that how that goes? Is there, like, are people just that fake in that world?
I don't know.
Are they afraid to, you know, like there was one episode where they were afraid to piss off Martin Scorsese, and they did. Anyway,
I think a lot of it is cranked to 11.
Sure.
I think if you probably went and spent 2 weeks in the movie studio system and going to parties and, you know, doing pitches.
How cool would that be just to like be a fly on the wall for all of those things you just mentioned?
But what I'm getting at, maybe not, because I bet it's more not as sexy and cool as you think. Like
Probably
it's not at this cool Hollywood party that Charlize Theron's throwing.
Sure.
You know, they're talking at a Starbucks.
I get it.
And I just spilled my coffee on my bag.
Sure.
And then there's probably a lot more corporate bullshit that you got to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, staid conference rooms where you're talking to movie executives. And I bet the movie studios don't look anything like the Continental. It has like, the Continental is like, how would you describe it? It's almost like an Aztec architecture design.
It's like old Art Deco Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's like how Hollywood was in its like huge heyday.
Right.
Okay. That's how I would probably describe it.
And that dovetailing off of that's another appeal of the shows. They have a very kind of reverence for the past movie type of vibe.
Yeah.
Even the opening credits has like this kind of like retro, you know, text card with the name of the show, and
sure,
he drives an old Thunderbird or Corvette.
Yeah,
Stinger
it kind of
from
has
68
that
Corvette.
Yeah, that old classic Hollywood vibe. Yeah.
Even the soundtrack that you just heard there, it has that kind of skibbity bop bop kind of like a Hip Cat type of Rat Pack thing.
Yeah, or you know the horns with the you know kind of long sound there. Yeah. Yeah,
but the studio it's a good, and it's usually a tight 30 minutes each episode, so
it's funny.
Yeah.
There's good comedy there. I'm a big fan of Catherine Hahn.
She's great.
Yeah.
She'll never top her stepbrother's performance, though.
Oh, God, that's so funny. Yeah, she's so great in that. She's great in a lot of things that she does. She
is fantastic.
Yeah, so.
We should do a podcast about Catherine Hahn.
Sweet.
The studio, Apple TV Plus. Definitely go check it out. I almost like that sound better than the other one. And for our final TV show / movie, we go to a documentary on Max, soon to be HBO Max, called The Mortician.
Oh my goodness.
And I saw a couple like articles about this before it aired.
Okay.
And I'm like, a documentary about a mortician. Let me guess, he was getting pervy with bodies. You know, like, I don't know if I want to watch that.
Right.
So we checked it out, and it was interesting, right?
It was definitely strange.
Like, who knew that somebody whose job was to cremate and or take care of dead bodies could be so psychopathic, criminal, help me out here, just a big
a
greaseball
shyster,
shitbag shyster.
greedy, always like running some sort of scam
I know.
or...
It goes counter to what you expect of funeral homes and morticians, which is, soft and very empathetic and accommodating and respectful of your decedent.
Yes.
That is not this guy. David Sconce is his name. He was heir to this huge funeral home out of Pasadena, California. And he took advantage of his job as a cremator to, you're supposed to cremate one body at a time. He found a way to monetize.
Just do more and more and more.
More and more and more.
Yeah.
And here's a clip from the mortician explaining it. Did you have something?
No.
Okay.
You put like 2 or 3 bodies in each oven.
At a time.
At a time. It progressed and do 15 at a time. Each side. You make the bodies big the way they can.
I saw what they're doing. They would break a collarbone or a leg or an arm to get it in a position to be the most compact to fit in the oven. They had this gaff hook used to move, sides of beef around. Hooking the bodies under the armpit and dragging them in there. And there was a running competition between David Sconce and Johnny on who was able to load the most bodies in the oven at one time.
Just
yikes.
15 bodies at a time. I mean, they did a count throughout the series for the first episode or two. Like in 1 year, what?
22,000.
I was going to say 20,000.
22,871.
And legally, technically, you're only supposed to do one body every 4 hours, I think is what the number was. So
I believe
in a day, you could do 2, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. There's no way you can do 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, David Sconce, was, they interviewed him. He was a willing participant in this.
Yeah.
And he admitted to it.
Yeah. But he didn't see anything wrong with it.
No, and that's what's very concerning,
yeah.
the sociopathic element here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find the audio. I wanted to, but he basically said, once they're dead, like, they're just meat.
Yeah.
They're just,
the soul's left the body.
Yeah.
It's
What do you
just a bag
care?
of bones.
Who cares?
Yeah.
And
like the loved ones care.
The loved ones care.
Could you imagine getting what you thought is your loved one's ashes and come to find out there's 30 other people in there? Like, that's just weird.
Like, this guy is such an asshole.
Yeah.
And, for thousands of years, societies, cultures, and I think that just at the end of the documentary.
Yeah.
That, we have always revered and respected our dead.
Yeah.
And treated them with
our dead.
kindness and respect.
Yeah, bury, cremate. You know, there's a formality to how we treat our dead people.
But the story doesn't end there. It gets worse because you find out his sweet little mom, who is kind of running the funeral home.
Yeah,
she's probably a shithead.
Well, and
she went to jail. His dad went to jail.
And for me, it also got worse when they were harvesting, gold caps, gold teeth from people and selling people's organs. I mean, like, these people aren't even getting buried whole then. Like, and some people have religious beliefs about that the body must remain intact, or
Absolutely.
whatnot. So, yeah, it's just... You know what's interesting is...
You know what's interesting is, I think the image just at the end of the documentary, that, we have always revered and respected our dead. And I couldn't find the audio. I wanted to, but he basically said, once they're dead, like, they're just meat. They're just, he had to have known he was doing something wrong because they weren't contacting the families to say, hey, we're making money. We can make money off your dad's heart if we sell it to this place.
No.
You know?
They didn't even know any different.
No, they just did it.
Yeah.
And took the money. And there was no like thought to like, I don't know.
I mean.
So my point is he knew he was doing something wrong. Or he just didn't fucking care.
I mean, I don't know. He just kind of exudes this attitude throughout his interviews that he doesn't see anything wrong with it.
No.
There's no remorse there.
He stinks
There's no like, I feel real bad for that person whose, mom or who thought they were getting their mom's ashes. There's no regret there at all.
He came across very much as a narcissist, probably a psychopath or sociopath.
And a pathological liar.
I
mean, like.
And what's interesting is even the guy who spent time in prison with him said yeah, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
And his greatest weakness is he can't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then they cut right to him. There's insinuations of David possibly murdering 3 people.
Poisoning them with oleander.
Yeah.
Which,
and backing up, that was another part of the story. Is this guy went to dinner with another funeral director who was pissed that this guy was cheating the system and da-da-da. That guy he went to dinner with died that night they found out there was oleander poison in his system. But then they get to the part where he's like, there's other possible murders that could be associated with him, and he can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
He's like, I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But let's just say that maybe I did.
Yeah.
That's something along those lines. Like, dude.
It's like OJ.
Yeah, he just can't help himself.
Yeah.
Like, he probably just loves that.
I didn't do it, but if I did, here's how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like that. But
yeah.
It's a fascinating story.
It's a sad it's sad, and it's just, it goes to show that like any industry can be infiltrated by
crappy people.
A horrible person. Yeah. Any industry. You can have horrible doctors, as we might talk about in a future documentary that we're viewing. You can have horrible, obviously, morticians, cremators, and that's not to say that, there are plenty of very, very good people who choose that profession. And obviously there's a need. We need that in our society because we revere, how we treat our dead. And, so
this is definitely.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. It's like, gosh, this guy, how did he get here? I mean, other than it's his family's business, but he didn't seem to have like a traumatic childhood, unless, I don't know, is growing up in a mortuary traumatic for a kid? I know kids that grew up in one, and they're fine.
My mom kind of grew up in one.
Well, we're not going to talk about
that.
Right,
yeah. But, David Sconce, he grew up in one, and he seemed unaffected.
Yeah.
He mentioned at one point, like, when his parents were talking to him about getting into mortuary science, he said, like, oh, yeah, I can embalm. An old salty dog taught me that, when I was 12. So, and he said it very flippantly, like, yeah, whatever,
Mm.
So none of that bothers him, I don't think.
Sure.
Because they're just meat.
They didn't dig into like his upbringing, his childhood. Like, was he harming baby bunnies in the yard and now he's a psychopath? You know what I mean? Like, there's no origin that explains him, really. It's just like, I don't know. Are you just that greedy? Were you born that way? Have you always been that way? Like, I would like to know what he was like as a child and like in high school. Like, were you a swindler, a hustler, a liar then? Like, I don't know. I just didn't understand why.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. But I'd imagine there is some dead bunnies buried in his childhood.
I don't know. And, and then like, I kind of get a little upset with the people that went along with it too and did the work, the laborers. He was just kind of the guy who barely got his hands dirty, but he ordered everybody else around. And
yeah, but he was smart because he hired people who had no prospects really.
Yeah.
If they weren't doing that, they were going to be driving trucks, unloading cargo at docks and repeat, or bouncing at a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't hire any real Mensa members.
Yeah.
These are guys that were, like I said, not a lot of prospects. They're kind of big and strong.
Yeah.
You know, and just want a good paycheck.
Sure.
And he paid them well, but geez, the fact that they were like cracking legs and
Yeah.
meat hooking dead people.
Well, and they don't seem to be super affected by it either. It's like, think about all those families.
I know. Yeah.
You don't even know the half of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, how would they even begin to unravel that mess
You can't.
and inform people like, hey, that urn on your mantle might not be your grandma.
That's all you can do. You can't fix it.
No.
You can't get grandma's 100% of her ashes.
No.
It's just,
Yeah.
and
And the whole like trial stuff and like it feels like I don't know if they got enough consequences. Any
No.
of them. None of them really.
no. I mean, some of those guys made a deal, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't really, he went to jail for 3 years for this,
Oh, big deal.
but, and then like there's questions about that murder.
Yeah.
The guy with the oleander.
Yeah.
There's no charges brought there. Or there was, but they
there
threw
was,
it out.
but yeah.
He did go to jail for a few years after this whole thing, you know, in and out of jail. And, you know, it's just dubious stuff. He's, like you said, a shyster.
Yeah.
He just can't help himself.
Yeah.
He didn't learn anything when he got out of prison.
No.
He just continued to try to cheat
Scam.
people and scam.
Yeah,
and-
because he was doing the bus ticket scam. He was a bus driver and seemed to be doing
Yeah.
pretty well and life back on track. And then he decided, I'm going to print my own tickets, sell them. Like, okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
I was looking for
So
a quick buck.
I think so. I don't know. Seems like there are those people out there, you know, they just run one game after another, you know,
Always with the hustle.
always.
The Mortician, it's 3 episodes. Should check it out. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating stuff. It really is.
And sad.
And sad. So we go into some upbeat type of music.
Yeah.
The Married with Channels podcast, that's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
Talking about some movies and TV shows. This married couple doing it. And hopefully you make sure you follow us on the Twitter, Married W Chans. And yeah, anything else, Jody?
Share, tell your friends.
Absolutely. Until next time, my name is Moose.
And I'm Jodie.
We'll see ya.
Bye.